Hey everyone, G-Rod Plays here, and today's video is going to be an LFG guide for the Atraks encounter during the Pantheon Atraks Sovereign. This will also apply, of course, to weeks 2 and 3 of Pantheon. Probably not week 4 because you're in contest mode, so you'll probably have to do the Atraks encounter the normal way. This is going to be a guide on how to do it for players who are not necessarily all going to be able to handle the chaos that's doing Atraks the normal way. This is going to be very simplified versions that way you can get in there, knock Atraks down, get your bonus points because you're going to do it in a shorter period of time, and then from there get the raid done and go to our site to pick up your loot for the week. So this encounter is probably going to have at least 2 warlocks and 2 hunters because that's going to be like a recommendation as far as LFG group setup for my other 3 videos, and that's the other 3 fights getting here. The other 2 slots, it doesn't really matter what you have. Usually that's like a Titan and like maybe another warlock or another hunter setup, or 2 Titans, for example. Titans, the reason I leave them off is because they're not necessarily essential to group makeup with these particular raid encounters. They're kind of extra. They're nice on this encounter if they're running like Strand Titan, for example, and they're using their super to try to finish off Atraks. Once you get them in the last stand, that's actually very useful. Or if you're running Pyrogale, and that's what I would recommend, running Pyrogale gauntlets if you have those gauntlets, so that you have like a boom one and done super. If you don't have the Pyrogale gauntlets and you need to pick a super, you're going to have to run Arc, the Falling Star Curious, so that way you get the additional damage on the Thunder Crash, because that's what you'll be running. And the reason why is we're going to be doing a strategy where we're going to stack everybody up on Atraks when it's time to do the very first amount of damage, and the goal is to actually have Atraks into last stand in one go. You're not going to have a second Atraks if you do it right. There is a kind of workaround if you don't have enough damage on your team as an LFG team, or not everybody's as coordinated, that I'll go into, and that'll actually help in the coming weeks. You're probably going to have to do it next week and the week after that to keep the strategy going, but it's still a viable strat that you can use without having to deal with passing the buffs around up and down, up and down. And so the way that this strategy works is you're going to have all of your players coordinate to where you're going to end up having everybody up in space once everything is set up. And the way the setup works is you have the servitors spawning eventually once you clear ads. Of course, you're going to have your operator spawn on the bottom floor. You're going to kill that operator, and you're going to have that person go up into space. So when we first start out, it's going to be 3 and 3. You're going to send 3 people up. You're going to have 3 people down. Then once the operator spawns, the operator is going to immediately go up, meaning there's 4 people up in space and 2 people down on the lower level. And you're going to send that operator up to send back down space pods, 2 space pods exactly for the guys underneath. You're going to leave 1 space pod up because we're going to need that space pod just in case we don't one-shot Atraks. And once you have that done, you're going to tell the bottom 2 players, hey, now that we've got 4 people in space, you're going to leave 1 servitor alive on the lower level. There's going to be a servitor spawning in the very center, 1 left and 1 right. You'll coordinate to say, like, let's leave the left servitor up or let's leave the right servitor up, not the middle one because that one's kind of in the way. So let's say we leave the left servitor up, for example, in this setup. The person on the left is going to go over and help kill the right servitor and the middle servitor, and then those 2 players, once they kill the servitors, they're going to immediately come upstairs. And what that's going to do is that's going to get rid of the new mechanic of having a tormentor walking around downstairs. If you kill all the servitors, that's going to spawn a tormentor, so the people don't have to worry about the tormentor. He's going to be downstairs by himself. Everybody else is going to end up in space. So just to reiterate, you've got 4 players up, operator included, and the other 2 players are going to kill everything except for 1 servitor and come up to meet you guys upstairs. That's 6 players. If you do that quick enough, you're going to have everybody up there before Atraks goes into their very first phase of having to do DPS, where Atraks ends up turning gold for the scanner, and the scanner themselves is going to call it out. Everybody's going to come to the scanner. Now, before I get into how that works, just to make sure everybody upstairs knows what's going on, in case this is your first time doing the encounter, you're trying to relearn it again after not having done it for so long, the people upstairs, what their job is going to be is to clear all the ads, kill all the servitors, and on top of that, 1 person is going to be designated as your scanner. Now, the operator, when they get upstairs, is going to turn around and shoot these little panels on the wall to send back down 2 of the pods, but the scanner, what their job is going to do is that they're going to go and they're going to hunt down the scanner vandal. Once you kill the scanner vandal, you're going to pick up the scanner and get safe. What your job is going to be to do as a scanner is going to be to watch all the Atraks clones or one that's going to turn gold when it's time. Now you'll see a message pop up on the bottom, and it's going to let you know that the encounter has moved into the next phase where Atraks is going to begin glowing gold. If you don't kill Atraks in time when it's in that position, if you don't kill the proper one, if you shoot the wrong one, for example, then that Atraks is going to wipe the team. And this is kind of an all or nothing strategy, so you will wipe very likely a few times. Don't freak out if you're in the LFG. Don't have people leave and stuff like that. It's normal. You're just going to keep doing this until you line up an Atraks kill. And the reason why it's fine that you wipe over and over again is, number one, you want the bonus points, so that way you get bonus points and you get the triumph done for the Godslayer title. But number two, you want to make sure that it's a good run, because you don't want to have a scuffed run and go back and forth, and then have to do some of the mechanics that you're basically avoiding with this strategy. Because again, this is an LFG guide, so this is going to be a strategy that's going to be for everybody that's not a perfect cohesive team. If you're a perfect cohesive team, then you can do it the normal way. Although again, in the first few weeks, it's more time efficient just to do it this way. So now that we're all caught up, you've got the operator upstairs that has already sent down 2 pods. The scanner has his scanner debuff. You see that the next phase has begun, and you're going to hear, I think, a noise as well that kind of lets you know that the next phase is going to get done. From there, you're going to look for the Atraks clone that's glowing gold. Now, I was the scanner in this situation. I usually run the scanner, so you can see it from my point of view. What I'll do is I'll call the Atraks out, and let's say it's on the right side in the back. I'll say top right back, and so everybody's going to go to the top right with me. We're going to stand around Atraks, and we're going to say 1, 2, 3, go. Everybody does damage on go. Now the setup that we're using is we're using Parasite grenade launcher for everybody. Hopefully you guys have it. If you don't, just use a different grenade launcher and just chunk a bunch of grenades when it's time. But Parasite is important, and the reason why Parasite's important for this strat is because you can kill a bunch of adds and get it a 20 stack, which means you're going to do a ton of damage in a very short period of time. And how the damage phase is going to go, everybody's going to run a damage super. So there should be no wells. You don't need a well because you only have 5 seconds or so to do damage to the Atraks clone before it disappears, and then you have to go downstairs to handle the one downstairs. And so everybody's going to be running something like a Nova Bomb. You can run Blade Barrage if you're not good at getting your shots, although if you have a Celestial Nighthawk Hunter that can hit their shots, that's a nice way to do a bunch of damage in a short period of time. Titans, of course, are going to be running Thunder Crash or Pyro Gale Gauntlets Hammer. That way you get a boom one and done super. And so 3, 2, 1, go. Everybody pops their supers. They switch quickly to their grenade launcher Parasite and launch a Parasite, and you should be getting like 700,000 or so damage per person. And what that's going to do, that's going to remove her entire bar of health all the way down to her final stand, because any over damage is going to get stuck at the final stand cutoff. And you're going to completely remove all of the other mechanics, and you don't have to worry about any of the mechanics. Normally there's a debuff on the ground, the Atraks clone debuff. It's like a small glowing purple ball that you touch to start the encounter. Normally you have to deal with that as well, and you're having to get them out of the airlock. In this case, you don't have to deal with that because you kill that one clone, somebody picks up the debuff, and then you go around hunting immediately for all the other Atraks clones to finish off the final stand. Now, if you make a mistake here, or somebody misses their super, or their super is ill-timed, they didn't even get their super off, don't worry about it. You don't have to wipe. We were doing that initially until somebody mentioned, like, hey, we can just go downstairs and kill the one clone. So me as the scanner, what I'm going to do is, as soon as I do my damage to Atraks, I'm going to immediately turn around and go toward the pods. And the reason why I'm doing that is because if I see on my screen her health doesn't get down to 0 towards the final stand, I have to go down to the lower floor and deal with the Atraks on the lower level. So you have to have your scanner be somebody who's good and adept that can go down there and quickly kill the Atraks clone and get back upstairs without getting killed by the Tormentor downstairs or any remaining adds. So you have to have somebody confident do this, because the timing is very tight, and you'll see that in the example. I get in the pod, I go down, I do my damage to Atraks with my fusion rifle to push her, and you'll see the small little indicator showing where her health needs to get to push her into the next phase. I'll do that, go over and pick up the buff, the Atraks replication buff, the clone buff, come back upstairs, and by the time I'm reaching upstairs, the Atraks clones upstairs are going to be ready to be seen by the scanner. So that's why it's so tight, because as you're going down the pod, you're going to hear Atraks begin to start doing its wipe mechanics, so you have to get out and immediately look left and right to see which Atraks it is. It's going to be one of the ones next to the pods, either the very center, left, or right, and thankfully they're all kind of close. You don't have to go too far to get to them, so you should have time to get out, get downstairs, kill the Atraks clone, grab the buff, come back up the pod, and then from there your teammates, you'll find the Atraks clone up there and tell your teammates, all right, it's this particular clone, and they can run in there even without you there. 3, 2, 1, go, hit the Atraks clone, and push Atraks into the final stand. And so that's why this strat will work beyond the first week, because normally once you get to a certain light disparity, because it's right now -5 this week, it'll be -10 in the next week. If you're viewing this in the next week, it'll be -10 for you guys. The following week after that will be -15, and then -20. And so probably won't work in -20 just because you may not have enough damage per se to do the Atraks damage by yourself. You may have to send 2 people down if they can do it quickly. If you have a good team, you can send 2 people down, take the Atraks out, send 2 people back up. So you want to make sure that you're working with the pod people to get that right, where you're going to leave 2 pods up just to be safe, and then the operator has to be on their toes to deal with the buff up top and the buff below. And so that's why it's only viable usually in the first 3 weeks, because you can very likely handle this with one person even at -15. However, once the health pool gets a little high, you're going to have to do Atraks the proper way. And if that's the case on contest week, I'll make a separate video going over contest mode, Atraks LFG guide on how to do that. So we've gone over group composition, we've gone over what the scanner does, we've gone over part of what the operator does. Now that you've gotten to this phase and you're in the final phase, the next part of the operator responsibility kicks in here. What that's going to be is the operator is going to have to look for people with the Atraks debuff over their head, the little purple ball, and you're either going to send it out of an airlock or you're just going to juggle it. The easiest way is just to juggle it, which means you're going to shoot it off somebody's head, and somebody else will run over it real quick, pick it up, and that's going to refresh your debuff. It's about 40 seconds or so. And once you do the first wave properly, you're only going to have 1. If you have to have somebody go down and come back up, then you're going to have 2, meaning you're going to have to juggle the Atraks debuff while you're dealing damage to the Atraks clones in Final Stand, and keep that up enough that you're going to have the Atraks clones dead before the debuff kills you. Very possible to do so because you have a whole 40 seconds, so as long as you juggle it a couple of times safely, the one at the top and the one at the bottom, you can knock out the clones, which we've done too. But as contest mode comes around and you're going to end up having to kill 4 or 5 clones, it's going to be a little tougher on you, or even next week and the week after, it's going to be a little tougher on you. So make sure that the person with operator is also coordinating with the people, saying like, hey, call out the person's name, I'm going to shoot your buff, pick it back up. So he's going to shoot the buff off of them, basically shoot the person who shoots the buff off of them, and then that person will run back over it and reset the timer. The person coming from the elevator, the person doing the scanning, is going to have a debuff on them when they come up, shoot the buff off of them, have somebody else in the fire team pick it up. That way you don't have to be following around the scanner as it's running from Atraks clone to Atraks clone. You can just keep an eye on the people doing damage for Atraks themselves. So as the operator, your primary role is to make sure you're juggling those balls, not doing DPS as much. Obviously, if you've just reset them, you're going to get in there and do your damage. But if you know that it's coming up, make sure you're shooting them off people's heads and telling people, hey, you need to pick that back up again really quickly before you go to the next clone, and try to get that done in the chaos of calling out, the other Atraks locations. Because when you get upstairs, you're going to have, pod left, pod right, and you're going to have Atraks in the bottom middle, back. You're going to have 2 Atrakses on each side, so top right front, top right back, top left front, top left back. So you're going to kind of want to tell people what your callouts are going to be, and that's why I'll say, I'll call top, middle, and then front or pod, and so people know exactly what we're talking about. And of course they're going to follow me and see where I'm at. And when that comes up, you don't want to wait for your teammates in that instance, because if you wait too long, Atraks is going to wipe you. You've already done the work to get to the final stand. So basically you're going to say whatever Atraks is, you're going to go Atraks is front and middle, and it's going to be like 2, 1, go, not 3, 2, 1, go, or it's going to be ready, go, because Atraks is not going to give you a whole lot of time. You've already struggled a little bit trying to find them because you're going side to side as it is. So what my call out's going to be is Atraks middle, ready, go, Atraks top right, ready, go. And anybody that's in the vicinity is going to shoot and do damage to it when they can get there. But since you have so many clones, you want to make sure that you're getting damage in them and you're pushing them, not that everybody is getting ready to do it, because again, if you wait too long, Atraks is going to wipe you. So Atraks top, middle, right, everybody ready, go. And on go, you do your damage, you pop whatever super you haven't used, and you do any kind of heavy damage that you have, use your special, everything that you got. Getting Atraks to the next clone extends the final stand phase for those that are new to the encounter or trying to remember. And you can do, I think it's like, what, 2, 4, 6, 8 clones? You can do 8 clones worth of damage. So you don't have to worry about, again, waiting too long for everybody to get there, because you're going to have plenty of clones to find. And as you kill the clones off, it's going to be easier to spot the other ones because you've cleared off certain sides. So don't worry about the final stand as much when it comes to coordinating the teammates. The idea is you're going to do the damage quickly, move on to the next clone. And so just a quick recap, because at this point, once you've done this, you're going to see Atraks fall over. You're going to get the bonus points. You're going to get our site, and everything's good. If you're trying to remember specifically where you're at, bottom guys, again, are going to clear ads and leave one servitor up. The top 4, and that's going to be the operator, whose sole job is to get the operator buff on the bottom, come up, send down the pods. Once you 4 get up there, you're going to clear ads, kill your servitors up top, and then you're going to help kill the Vandal with the scanner, so the scanner person can actually pick up the scanner. You guys are clearing up top. The 2 at the bottom, once you have your 1 servitor left, you're immediately going to hit the pods and get up so that you're there in time to do damage. Atraks is going to start her protocol. You're going to find the glowing one. 3, 2, 1, go. Pop supers, pop parasite, or grenade launcher if you don't have parasite. Hopefully you don't have too many people that don't have parasite, because the more people that don't have parasite, the harder the encounter is going to get to push to that point. If you are the scanner, go back down. If you don't kill Atraks in one go, jump in the pod immediately as soon as you see that Atraks isn't going to go down. Deal with the bottom Atraks, pick up the buff, come back up, or the debuff, should I say, come back up the pod. Have somebody shoot the debuff off your head, the Atraks replication, and then move on to the final stand, because at that point you'll call out the next Atraks, push him, because it should be no problem. You can do it primary, basically. And then from there, you're going to go into final stand and get the counts right, ready, go, so on and so forth. If you follow that strategy, if you have the right group makeup from the beginning, because again, you're going to start Morgith with 2 warlocks, a hunter or 2, usually 2 hunters, and then maybe 2 titans or any other setup. You don't necessarily need any titans, but having 1 or 2 titans with some good one and done supers like the Pyrogale, or having them running something that's good for ad clear, for example, in the other phases is good too. So titans can still fit in, but you're going to want to make sure you for sure have 2 hunters. You're going to want to make sure you for sure have 2 warlocks. And the reason why you want the 2 hunters is because you want one to be able to run a debuff, and then one for their celestial damage. That's going to help on Caretaker. That's going to help on Morgeth if they're down there in the pit hitting their shot properly with Celestial Nighthawk. And so once you get to this encounter, you're going to have 2/2 and then whatever the filler is. And that's going to be the setup. So if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me in the comments, and I'll be able to answer any of those questions and kind of iron out any of the strats that you're having trouble with. But this is it. It's a quick and easy setup once you do it right. It's just a matter of getting coordinated with your teammates, since the first time you're going to be running with them, if it's LFG, or if it's guys that you've played with but you haven't done this in forever, same thing. You just got to get really used to getting everybody up, all 4 up quickly. You're going to have the other 2 come up and join you in time to hit the timer before Atraks starts to try to do the damage wipe phase, and so you have to do damage to Atraks when the scanner is ready. And as long as you get that set up and you get it done in time, this is going to be probably the easiest encounter out of all of the encounters for the next 2 weeks. And that 3rd week, I don't know, maybe it's probably a little tougher because you probably have to do it the right way. If I get to the point where the team that I run with can't do this, and we're not able to take advantage of the strategy of sending the scanner back down to kill the 1 Atraks by themselves, or try to do it with 2 well-coordinated people, then I'll update the guide and I'll kind of go over the proper mechanics on how you're supposed to do this. So hopefully in the later weeks, this encounter stays the same. The one that I think is going to be a little bit of a headache is going to be the Riven encounter, because you're probably not going to be able to cheese Riven by attacking her foot anymore. Probably going to have to do it the right way, so I'm looking forward to making that video, because it's been forever since people had to do it the right way, the legit way, and so that's going to be a lot of fun to go through and to try to get that done. Obviously annoying for people that don't have a lot of coordination, but fun for people who've been wanting to do it the right way regularly and kind of experience that and get that thrill of beating her the proper way. So again, thanks very much for watching the end. Thanks for all my new subscribers, my current subscribers. I really appreciate you guys sticking around, and I'll see you guys in the next one.